I'll call the April 10th, 2024 meeting of the Kickapoo Area School Board to order, and we'll begin with roll call. Marla?
Earl Wallace.
Here.
Isaac Wallace.
Here.
Rich James.
Here.
Peggy McCormick. Here. Bo Schrader.
Here.
Janet Mathis. Here. Scott Walter.
Here. Next up, affirmation of proof of publication of the agenda.
I, Kimberly Johnson, hereby certify that notice of the Kickapoo Area Schools regular school board meeting was caused to be published in the Epitaph News on 4/3/24 and posted on billboards in the following places for 2/24. The Kickapoo K-12 School Building, Citizens First Bank of Viola, Viola Post Office, and our school website.
Thank you, Kim. Item 3, I'll entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I so move.
I'll second.
Motion by Earl, second by Bo to approve. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Maybe we've got 2 people remote tonight, right? Isaac and
Yeah.
Rich. Maybe we'll do
All roll call.
roll call votes just so we can make sure we hear them.
Got to do agenda now.
No, we already did. I'm okay with it.
Okay.
They would have spoke up if they had a problem. Next up, item 4, audience visitors and board members. No, you mentioned nobody called in.
No.
Any board member? Issues, Isaac, Rich?
I'm good, thanks.
All right. We'll move on then. Expense vouchers and receipts, item 5.
Classes at college credits, that one is.
Or which, what are you talking about?
Maybe ring in that.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I didn't ask.
Good to double check.
I had just a general question. Staff travel, professional development, do we have a per diem that sets a max on hotels, meals?
Not that I'm aware of. There's no maximum. A lot of the times for the hotels, they have like a group rate and they just go with the group rate.
Okay.
Just roll with it.
Is that just,
There's a limit on the professional days that, professional days that staff can take.
no, I'm thinking the cost of the hotel room or what they're spending on meals, just background working for the state, you understand you've got whatever it was, $90 is the ceiling for your hotel room. It's not up to you to find a hotel below that. It just struck me as a question. If we don't have that, is anybody ensuring we're not
Well, I
staying at
think
the
any,
Ritz?
correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, but I think anybody that's gonna participate in that kind of thing has to get it approved by an administrator first.
And that would include
So
those
that would
first.
include what the total cost would be, I
Okay,
assume.
so there is a check and balance.
Yeah.
Not that I think anybody's spending frivolously, but there's a big variation
Yeah,
in,
we have the same thing we talked to at Southwest Tech.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a ceiling.
Limited on the amount.
As long as there's a check in place. And then just curiosity, Andy, the mystery science package,
Yep,
what's
it's a
it?
It's a
mystery.
mystery.
The Mystery Science it's an online program that is used in kindergarten through 5th grade as part of our science curriculum. Actually at the staff meeting, what day did we get out early? Wednesday? One of the things the staff brought up is that they want to have a more in-depth science curriculum. The Mystery Science, it has some really good stuff. It's just it's not enough. It's not a viable curriculum on its own. But before we jump head first into buying anything or finding something else, we used Mystery Science along with Mrs. Von Ruden put together a great big binder for each grade of outdoor science activities. So what we discussed for next year is looking at using the binder and trying to use activities out of there for the beginning of the year. Well, in the fall and the spring when it's more conducive to going outside, and then that would not shorten up, but it would then use the mystery science more November, December, January, February.
Oh,
So it's, the program has online videos that goes with it. The kids watch that, and there's different activities that the kids do that go with it. So that's what they gave us. We got a deal if we signed up now. I don't remember what it was, but it was cheaper to do it now for next year than to wait till the beginning of the year. But there's really good stuff with it. It's just not enough by itself, so the teachers supplement what they do along with it. And we're trying to, it's one of the things we would like to figure out is what is a group, kind of where we want to go with the outdoor classroom but I don't want to spend any money on anything until we know what direction we're going and what everybody wants to do.
Yeah.
So that's what that is.
very cool, thank you. Any other questions? Then I will entertain a motion to approve the expense vouchers.
I think second.
Motion by Earl, second by Janet. And we'll do a roll call vote.
Rich James,
Yes.
Peggy McCormick,
Yes.
Bo Schrader,
Yes.
Janet Mathis,
Yes,
Earl Wallace,
Yes.
Isaac Wallace,
Yes.
and Scott Walter.
Yes. Yeah, we've got a lot of items on the consent agenda, just so they're recorded, I'll run through them real quick. Minutes from our March 13th regular board meeting. Minutes from the March 13th Policy and Legislative Affairs Committee meeting. Minutes from the March 20th Building, Grounds and Transportation meeting. Minutes from the April 3rd canvassing of the ballots. Minutes from April 4th Negotiations and Handbook Committee meeting. Minutes from the April 4th Policy and Legislative Affairs Committee meeting. Wisconsin School Violence Drill Evaluation Report, which Aaron put in your packet. The 24-25 Better Futures Co-op Agreement, also in your packet. 24-25 Course Revisions and Additions in your packet. Vernon Memorial Healthcare Agreement for Athletic Training Services. Lawn care contract with 608 Lawn Care, and we had somewhat of a discussion, I think, last time about that. And then some donations, David Renish for the flagpole for the softball field, and John and Ginny Nicolens donated some planters.
to clarify, the healthcare, Vernon Memorial thing for the training was just the summer, right?
Yes.
That's right, yep. Thank you,
Did
Jen.
we've done summer before?
Yeah, yeah.
What does he work with in the summer since we don't have?
The kids during strength and conditioning.
So we have a staff member and we have,
Yep, they're both, but he and just the technical end of, you know,
so he actually works with the
yes,
kids,
he's really
not
working
just
with
sitting
kids.
away.
Yeah, the expertise part of it, to be there, so.
All right, that makes a little more sense.
And I was gonna ask that course revisions, additions get pulled out of consent, but
I
as long
was
as
too,
we're
and I
talking.
forgot, but
You
so
wanna-
I figured we'd have to talk about it now, go ahead.
Uh,
I don't know.
let's pull it out as you're supposed to do, I think.
I've no.
So let's move item H, I'm sorry, no. I to the action agenda. Any other amendments to the consent agenda?
Well, I know myself and Marla had numerous emails about the two policy meetings. Marla, do they have the updates or should I just talk them up with?
Yes, we do. It's in the packet.
Okay, thank you.
I'll entertain a motion then to approve tonight's.
What, I do have one other
You
thing.
bet.
On the minutes from our March meeting, Marla,
Mhm.
Peggy's workshop she went to was WASB as opposed to WASBO. You wanna strike your, these are
Oh,
picky.
okay,
Just strike your O.
yep.
And I think for the Sea Perch approval, we should have the date of the trip there since there wasn't anything else in the packet that would allow anybody to.
Not sure if I
know
have
what
a
it was.
date, it's June, I think.
I think it's.
No,
No, it's end of
we had
May.
it somewhere when
I
it,
got it.
it just wasn't
Okay.
in that, in the packet, or we were told,
Okay.
but I think you're right.
I think it's that Wednesday through Sunday, the last of May.
No apologies
Sorry to interrupt.
needed. I am always encouraged that evidence that people actually read minutes, so.
I don't know, I was boast.
Yep, no, it's a good catch, good catch.
Did the salary schedule get,
Close.
yeah,
From our committee meeting, are you?
Yeah.
We will, that'll be an executive session that we'll be talking about. For the minutes are.
Just a minute.
Yeah.
okay.
5 seconds of silence then, I'll entertain a motion to approve tonight's modified consent agenda.
I'll make the motion.
I'll say that.
Motion by Janet, second by Earl. Roll call, please, Marla.
Peggy McCormick. Paul Schrader.
Yes.
Janet Mathis.
Yes.
Earl Wallace.
Yes.
Isaac Wallace.
Yes.
Rich James.
Yes.
Scott Walter.
Yes. Okay, very good. Moving on to tonight's action agenda. The first item being the bids for the gym floor work. Including 2 quotes on the high school gym, 1 quote on the elementary gym. For $5,250. Is that pretty much an annual maintenance thing?
Yes, it is.
Resurfacing?
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Earl, second by Peggy. To approve, and we'll move to a vote here if there's no more discussion, but what resulted in the price reduction of $1,050?
Because you only did 1 on the elementary, 1 quote on the elementary.
Okay.
Isaac Wallace.
Yes.
Earl Wallace.
Yes.
Janet Mathis.
Yes.
Paul Schrader.
Yes.
Peggy McCormick.
Yes.
Rich James.
Yes.
Scott Walter.
Yes. Second item, annual payment to the village of Reedstown for use of their baseball diamond. Paid $800 last year. Was there something in our packet, or is it the same cost?
All I had was the amount from last year. There wasn't anything in there. I think we just send them a check. There's no agreement or anything. We just send them a check.
It's kind of like the community building in Viola, we do the same for
Okay.
them, for the winter, we do use it, or used to anyways.
I think they've held their price pretty much steady,
Yeah.
almost the entire time I've worked here, if not the entire time.
Let's not discuss any further, let's.
I'll make a motion, we pay the $800 payment to the village of Reedstown for the ball diamond.
I'll second.
Motion by Janet, second by Bo, to approve that payment. Marla?
Rich James.
Yes.
Peggy McCormick.
Yes.
Paul Schrader.
Yes.
Janet Mathis.
Yes.
Earl Wallace.
Yes.
Isaac Wallace.
Yes.
Scott Walter.
Yes. Item C then on the action agenda, health insurance renewal for 2024 and 25. Kim and folks have put together a nice summary of how our first year under the SUA insurance models went. You wanna-
Yeah, so we met, one day this week, was it just yesterday? They all kind of blend together.
One day kind of.
But we're, confirmed that, our rates, they were really impressed. And we are going to keep our rates flat for the 24-25 school year. So far, we are looking really good. Typically, when you make a transition into self-funded, you look for more like a 12 to 18 months to kind of determine more about, projections, but they were very happy with our response to the self-insured and how it's being utilized. So our rates are going to be flat for the 24-25 school year. We are actually, he said, we are beating the trend of even the medical trend, which is a 5 to 5.6% increase as well. So always room for growth, and we will continue educational opportunities, but
When you say it holds flat, does that mean is that saying that their stop loss premium and their admin fees that they're charging us are going to stay the same?
is that correct?
Relatively.
No, I don't want relative.
Well, I'm trying to
Yes, they are,
remember.
or no, they're not.
They haven't, so what he didn't do is he did not give us the final, but, he did give us, let me just find the numbers. He said we could hold our premiums flat, but, option one was what we were discussing, right, Kim?
Yep.
Yep, option one.
So option one is,
So the actual gentleman that we met with at the insurance center was negotiating with the second insurance company, who's kind of our umbrella company. And so from his discussions with them, waiting on the final numbers, but his, in conversations with us, I guess he felt very strongly, his words were that we're gonna keep the rates flat. But we haven't gotten an actual percentage.
Right, we don't have any exact numbers yet, but he was saying, that we were trending negative,
Yes,
isn't that what he said, which is a good thing.
right, we're
Um,
beating the trend.
right. I can't remember what percentage he used, I wanna say it was 3, but I could be mixing that up with property liability, workers' comp.
With the medical trend, it was 5 to 5.6.
5 to 5.6 under, what they
Yes.
were, okay.
Wow. But flat has, I think Janet's right, it has to refer to the stop loss premium and the admin fees, right? Cause that's the
Well,
only thing they're
but
getting.
it couldn't if he's still negotiating with the company that handles the stop loss that cover,
They don't know for sure, but.
He's just trying to, yeah,
Well,
he's just trying to get reduced from
unless
like
there
where
was
it's at.
anything drastic. We can't change this after like 9 months we've been on. I mean, the trend is good.
The trend is
But even
good.
if the trend was flat or only a little up, we can't change in like this right now. Like you said, you gotta give it a couple,
Right,
we don't, we haven't even finished out 1 year, so trend is good. And I don't see any reason to think we wanna get out of this at all.
no,
I certainly don't.
I mean, definitely when you consider the the fully
Fully insured
insured.
is the other option.
And the continued increases that we were experiencing and other districts are experiencing, so. Yeah,
And we've been happy with the insurance center and
absolutely.
from everything, and when they've been here the one committee meeting, I know that Scott and I and Rich were in, they were very good at explaining things,
Yeah,
working with us. So do we as a board just basically need to say we're gonna?
I think we're maybe just, yeah, I guess informing you, because he was hoping that he would have,
The actual numbers.
yeah,
the
actual numbers, and he wasn't able to get them to us. Just his specific feedback, that was positive, and that he, his conversations with the company were that we were.
So we wouldn't actually have to approve it, because I'd feel better waiting till we had actual.
Yeah, right.
numbers.
So
But that's just me, I mean, everybody else.
no, I'm fine waiting, I'd be fine approving tonight.
Yeah, I
with
guess.
there, but if it's no harm waiting a month, it would be better to have the actual numbers. But I guess the take home message is that there were growing pains with this, right? A lot of staff education, communications, us trying to understand with the funded model is, but it's paid off.
Changes
I mean-
in practice and changes in, yeah,
We, essentially, if I'm reading this right, we saved $165,000 in health insurance premiums this year, if I'm comparing.
yep, and those were the two specific numbers that he pulled out. He also said that our 24-25 budget rates are based on an expected 564,000 in annual paid claims. This is a reduction of 77.80 per employee per the month from the 23-24 budget rates, and the determining factor in keeping rates flat for the upcoming year. So our aggregate claims are much less than we anticipated, and we are adjusting our claims projection accordingly. An
Fantastic.
estimated savings over a fully insured contract through 8 months is $164,000. And the Kickapoo per member per month is currently $379 compared to our regional average of
Yeah,
$565.
that's the medical, so,
Yeah,
yeah, but. And he did he say anything about prescriptions, the RX part? Cause that's what looks high to me.
yeah, we've,
But I
Yeah,
know
numbers.
there may not be a lot we can say about that because
Yeah.
they're small and that would be a privacy issue too, so I don't want to get into detail there, just, I would be curious to know if that number is above average or below, because maybe I'm way off on
So you're looking at the $401.
$400 a
And
month.
it's per employee per month, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, you're right, that does. But it'd be neat to have a general comparison with other schools, but I don't think we
and the
want.
other thing we're gonna
dig into
need,
it.
and not before we renew this, because I'm like you, Scott, I would be okay doing it tonight too. But the other thing we're gonna want here at the end of July or June is actually what did it cost and what did last year's cost. I mean, they can do all this year above or below, but bottom line, what came out of our,
right, and that's what he said too, you really need, we need to be in this a longer period of time.
Yep.
But, it
yeah, I think.
had suggested that we didn't make any changes because we are smoking the fully insured. We're keeping flat in inflation.
Mhm.
So,
And if we wanna make that comparison, they were handing us a 14%
Yeah,
premium, so it'd be
definitely,
that plus
definitely,
14%.
yeah. But once
That would be
we have
good
the
to
two
look at.
numbers, yeah, you're right, you definitely,
One thing we wanna keep in mind is there will be a run out period
yes.
of the claims coming in, so we probably won't have full numbers until probably the end of September.
Say at least,
Yeah, possibly October, but I'm hoping for by the end of by the end
It's
of
getting
September.
better, I think, that way, but I don't know. And we don't, this is our first year through it, so it's gonna be a little hard to tell. We are a school, who knows, we may have more June and July things if people get services that they don't want to take time off.
Putting up.
right, they save for the summer.
And more deductibles will be paid off and we'll
Right,
put in the bill, so.
But it is looking good. That's-
A lot of hand wringing a year plus ago when we decided to go this route, but nice job, folks. A lot of good discussions, but it seems to be saving us significant money. But I always feel guilty focusing on the dollars and cents and trying to be conservative budgetarily. This is a benefit for staff, so we want them to get the healthcare they need, they and their families, right? So, yeah, we're looking at the general picture here, but I'm assuming this is causing no hardships on that end, right? They're still able to
Right.
see doctors. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so are we gonna hold off?
I think this will make a motion to approve it, because if we wanna still go with it,
Yeah.
we might not approve it, and it's gonna be what it's gonna be, because.
I'll take that as motion, Earl,
Okay, that's what it was.
which needs a
I'll
second.
second.
Motion by Earl, second by Bo to continue with our self-funded health insurance model.
Earl Wallace,
Yes.
Isaac Wallace,
Yes.
Rich James,
Yes.
Peggy McCormick,
Yes.
Bo Schrader,
Yes.
Janet Mathis, Scott Walter.
Yes. Moving on then, item B, revisions to Neola policies, volume 33, number 1, first reading.
And there's just kind of an email, the questions that the committee had. And the answers to that, there really wasn't anything major, but it just kind of gives you a summary of the questions they had and the answers that Neola gave us to, in response to those.
One thing financially that did change is now for any project that receives federal grant dollars, you have to have sealed bids if it's over $250,000, and in the past, for us, it was 150, I think.
Yeah.
So I think in the end, we decided just to raise that to 250. And
Yeah.
we have to, but it's a change, not that well, I guess we do use federal funds quite a bit, or have, but.
Yeah, and I think the other key thing was number 2 on there, that the committee that I guess we're supposed to have by law that Kim's gonna be working to put together, so we're in compliance. Human Growth and Development Committee.
So I haven't read through, thanks for including that summary, Marla. But I haven't read through that. If there's no other questions or concerns, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I can second it.
Motion by Earl, and we'll give the second to Rich. Thanks, Rich. Marla?
Rich James,
Yes.
Peggy McCormick,
Yes.
Bo Schrader,
Yes.
Janet Mathis,
Yes.
Earl Wallace,
Yes.
Isaac Wallace,
Yes.
Scott Walter.
Yes. Next item E, the 24-25 employee handbook revisions with a note that none were made by the committee. So is there anything to approve?
I don't know, do we? Do we just make
I
a motion
just-
to approve, but
yeah.
as it is, kind of like we did with
Okay.
like student handbooks and stuff?
Yeah.
Well, I can make that motion and approve the handbook, even though there are no revisions.
Great.
I'll second that.
Motion by Janet, second by Peggy to approve the current employee handbook.
Earl Wallace,
Yes.
Isaac Wallace,
Yes.
Rich James,
Yes.
Peggy McCormick,
Yes.
Bo Schrader,
Yes.
Janet Mathis,
Yes.
and Scott Walter.
Yes. Item F then, under the action agenda, you do have a summary of services provided and associated fees in your packet. This is the CISA 3 contract for 24 and 25.
I only had one question, and it deals with the speech language. That was having one or something this year. But we really would have had a lot more expense than that, right? Because that sounds like one person, and didn't we end up with more than one?
Yes, we have from CISA provided actually. There's,
Two full-time. Basically double that.
well,
No.
no, halftime. 2 halftime, because we couldn't get.
Oh, I knew that. Okay, so then this probably is right.
1 full time.
I knew we shared with
LaFar.
right, but then I thought we had another one that we shared with someone. Am I not right on that? Never was.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure if Lynn is anywhere just halftime,
Yeah,
but Allison is at the far end here, is my understanding.
And that's
then-
the only speech language path.
And Joy has been coming in,
right. We brought Joy in, remember, because we had additional students who
Okay,
needed.
But that wasn't through CISA.
No, that was on our own.
Gotcha. So are we still planning on using CISA for one of these next year in addition to?
We're
I
in
know it's not on the contract.
conversation and we're trying to solidify like 1 full-time to just have 1 person here. instead of the part-time with Lafarge and then the part-time. But it just kind of how it fell initially, we could only find a part-time. And then we were able to add, so,
So those folks are essentially contracted through CISA, they're not Kickapoo employees, so
Right.
benefits are not.
we
Our
just.
It's all, we
CISA.
pay it all and.
And does CISA get 10%? They get
No,
nothing.
Jamie
This
doesn't.
is,
The CISA director just does it as a service to
wow,
our districts.
that's a huge benefit then.
Yeah, he needs a
I think
lot
there
of-
might be, I don't know, if he's been asked to place, he's had requests for the services outside our CISA. But since he has a hard enough time recruiting, I don't think he's done that, because we did talk about that at a CISA board at one point, so. You know, if we're doing that, you know,
Yeah.
that would. He really believes CISA is there to serve schools, so.
Yeah, he's great.
Just
We
like,
don't have to make a profit, but we have to at least, you know, break even, and so. it's-
so I had a child take advantage of speech therapy when they were younger and they developed a really close, just a question, but a really close relationship with Jane way back
yeah,
when.
she-
And so if we're splitting time, are the students that use those services seeing the same person?
Yeah.
So they're split, the caseload is split,
Yeah.
okay, good.
Yeah, some schools are even having to do this virtual because they just can't find the people,
Yeah.
so we're fortunate that we.
Yeah.
Any other comments, thoughts?
I think it looked like CISA, the rates went up to 4% on basically everything, but those haven't been increased for a couple of years anyway, so.
And it's
Somebody-
somebody who's not in the school, I assume these are all things we use. There's nothing you could look at and say, how many we use that, let's not.
That's usually my question. Are we actually using anything?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, then, if there's no other discussion, I'll entertain a motion to approve the CISA contract for the upcoming year.
We'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Janet, second by Earl.
Janet Mathis,
Yes.
Paul Schrader,
Yes.
Peggy McCormick,
Yes.
Rich James,
Yes.
Isaac Wallace,
Yes.
Earl Wallace,
Yes.
Scott Walter.
Yes. Moving on to item G, class-wise computer monitoring software with quotes in your packet.
So yeah, previously we had Go Guardian software so that teachers can monitor what students are doing on their Chromebooks. The reason for the switch to LineWise is because LineWise has bought out the CIPA, which we currently use for our filter on firewall. And they're allowing us to use this filtering system until the end of our CIPA contract. Which would be July of 25. Our filtering would end in July of, no, SIPA filtering will end July of 24. So ClassWise is another add-on product that does all of the classroom management functions that Go Guardian did in the past. And it should save the district money as Go Guardian subscription is more expensive than the LineWise and the ClassWise. And we would be keeping LineWise anyway due to the firewall protection. So we would have had to renew Go Guardian licensing a few weeks ago. But knowing that we needed to switch to LineWise, we held off for ClassWise to save money in the long run. So they're basically two different softwares that are filtering and monitoring system for our IT devices.
Can you explain that? So my knowledge of online learning stuff like this faded as COVID just faded. But I remember discussions about Google Classroom and a couple other, this is different than that. This is so the teacher can.
Yeah, you can,
It's your protection.
yeah, like, I used it last year and everybody has it, so Go Guardian, and I just talked to Kent about it, this will be the same thing. So if I click on Go Guardian, it shows me all of my homeroom's class, if they're on their Chromebook. And then I can actually click on their Chromebook and I see their Chromebook and I can see what they're on and what they're doing. And if they're not supposed to be on something they're supposed to be, or if they're on a game instead of writing their paper, I can just log them off. I can tell them I'm logging them off, or they can just figure out, why do I keep getting booted off here? But it's sometimes rather an enjoyable thing to do from time to time. And Ken said that the new one has some more filtering stuff where it'll actually send to Aaron and I if, right now, if somebody's on an inappropriate site, I don't get anything as a principal, and I don't think you do either in Go Guardian. But this new one will send us what Kent showed, maybe he showed you the same thing.
Yeah, he did.
It'll show you, it'll break it down into different things, like it was a pornographic site or it was a racist site. And then when we get that email, if it says that the kids were on there, not even that they can see them, but if they try to look at them is what I understood it. And then we'd automatically get that, so then we would know right away what they were on instead of a teacher having to go on to see what they were on. So it should be more proactive in making sure kids are using the Chromebooks for what they're supposed to be using them for. That makes sense.
Sounds good, sounds reasonable. So, but I guess the decision we need to make it, the way this was presented, do we want a 1 year or is it 3 year? Subscription, 3 years saves us what, 300, 800 bucks?
$250 a year. I think it
250 or
was.
750.
About 750.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to go with 3 year.
I'll second that.
Motion by Earl, second by Janet, to approve purchase of the line-wise or class-wise software for 3 years.
Earl Wallace,
Yes.
Isaac Wallace,
Yes.
Rich James.
Yes.
Peggy McCormick.
Yes.
Bo Schrader,
Yes.
Janet Mathis.
Yes.
Scott Walter.
Yes. And I think that takes us to the end of our original action agenda, but we did add item I, the 24-25 course revisions and additions from the packet, and I asked for this to be moved to action only because I am absolutely thrilled at those 3 classes. That is, I wanted to just say that's a great idea. Business, of course, is a huge employment field, so beefing up our business offerings is something I think we should not only do, but we should, no pun intended, market.
Right.
It's something we offer here.
I think I may mention this a few months ago that we were really trying to look at the business end of things and try to, right now we have accounting, we have intro to business, and not that they're not good, but times have changed, with some of the kids. And so we're trying to find some avenues that have some more interest with them. And so we really sat down and tried to find some classes that, would be beneficial for them overall, with that marketing standpoint. The leadership class, Kent has been working a lot with the athletics through with Viterbo. And so there's Kim, I know Kim went through that as well, and a lot with the kids these days, and it kind of coincides with the marketing part of it too, of just the interactions they're going to be having with people and how to work in that avenue. So that's kind of the mix when we came, when we talked with Kent, with Angela and I, to what, in polling the kids of what we can do. Go ahead, Janet, sorry.
So I was just gonna ask, so what, do we only offer 1 year of accounting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know or used to do the, whatever you call it, credit with the tech college.
Yep, yeah, and we still have that.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that every one of these is gonna go every year. It just
Yeah.
gives some more flexibility and some more option. If you go to the top, the DPR requirement with the personal finance class, which is now a requirement. So kids are gonna have to take that their sophomore year. What this also, they'll have that back end with FIAD and health as well, but it offers one more option to kind of go with that new element, the component with personal finance, to have some interest in that and, you know, really be able to have the kids weigh in and say, hey, this is something that I'd like, you know, to take and have some flexibility with that.
Is personal finance one semester, 1 year?
It's one semester.
And but it's every day.
Yep. So right now they have careers and then they have FIAD and health on the back end. So now the new way will be, basically the class will be split. So they'll have personal finance for one semester. And then the other kids will have FIAD and health that semester and then they'll switch. So it'll be a little bit different in the schedule, but I think a lot more continuous. And I think I've mentioned this in the past too, but you know, when I do senior exit interviews and that's always been one that kids always say, they're like, you know, I get careers my sophomore year, we talk about things and whatever, but you know, I don't really think about it then. And so now I'm going out into the real world. And as a result of some of that, we've made changes that we give them a crash course, which they had this year. We have somebody come in from a bank, an investment person, teach them how to change oil, all those real life things that they can kind of have in addition to that. But now having, you know, personal finance as a full semester course, I feel like they'll really get a lot more with that. And just, you know, even in exit interviews this year, kids have, you know, made those statements like, you know, I've really never thought, but I've had this class and, you know, I'm interested in, you know, the business end and, you know, more than I have before. So, you know, having some better options in that and whatever would be nice.
Talk about options though. So we're not taking anything else out, we're adding these, so where are these kids coming from? Are they all taking an extra class?
No, and that's, I guess what I should clarify, it's not that we're gonna have these every semester, it's that we have another option as a course
So how
description that
many
if
would you need in
we
a
want
class to
to.
say, yeah, I think we'll run it this year?
You know, I would say typically, you know, some of these might be less, but you know, around you hope to have at least, you know, 10, you know, an
That's
option with
kind
that.
of right.
One other thing that, you know, changed a little bit with this is that, you know, we've always had yearbook and that's been
Yeah.
an ongoing discussion because of the class, because of the money part of it. You know, it really is a class, but yet it's more of an independent. And so we're going to move that to an independent. So we can get a few kids who really have that interest, work with them as an independent. It doesn't have to be a full class, which then allows more opportunity with one of these classes to fill in some of those slots too. So.
Well, one thing I would like, and I think I know we used to get it years ago and it's been a while. Is a thing that shows, and what we used to get it on, you probably remember, Earl, was teachers' names were listed, and it was like what they do every hour, so you could see this teacher does, you know, this,
Yep.
so, study hall or whatever. And then penciled in would
Number.
always be, how
Number
many
of kids in
students
each
are
class.
actually
Okay,
there? If I walk
sure.
in, how many students am I gonna
Yep.
be in that room? Because whether we like it or not, at some point, we're gonna have to take a really close look at enroll, how many, if we've got lots of small classes, what are we gonna do?
Yeah. Yeah, we could certainly do that and we'll be done with, so probably at the beginning of next year.
Well, you can do it right now,
you know.
with what's, I'd like to see what we've got
Okay,
now, actually.
So maybe next month I can bring that back.
That's fine, or just email it out to us or
Okay.
whatever, it's fine.
My last question about this, and again, I think these classes are gonna. I would think there'd be a lot of interest, but my question is, I assume Kent is teaching all these, is there a workload issue or how does?
No, like I said,
You're-
yeah, it gives us some flexibility with his schedule with, you know, the IT part that he has and the AD. And again, just to clarify, it's not that every one of these
Yeah,
maybe is gonna run every semester or every year, but it gives that flexibility that, hey, you know, if you get a group of kids, they're like, hey, we really wanna have marketing. Then we have the option, you know, it's an approved course to do it. If we get a group of kids who are like, we want the sports market, you know, it gives us, we can go on the requests of the kids and the numbers.
And I
and
think
needs
Ken
and
is
that.
really trying to build up.
He
that
is. I mean,
business area. He had a nice series of things that he had this spring, was it the spring, last fall, whatever, where he had previous graduates who have gone
Yep.
to business careers and done well. either come or virtually come and talk to these
Mhm.
kids about what you can do with this, because people they really don't have an idea.
Right,
Okay, so,
right.
You know. Right.
So, yeah, end of the day, it gives more options for kids, and not only more options for kids, but options that are very applicable to what is happening right now and that element. And as Janet said, you know, he did that as part of careers, and the careers information will basically be dissolved into personal finance, you know, with a lot of it, but continue to do those opportunities that we've brought back students that we've had to be able to talk. I think you came in and talked one day, didn't you? And we've had a number of people that have come in and talked about their career and how that fit in and how that fits into the avenue. And it'll just allow us to continue to do that. And not only even in, you know, the personal finance part, but the marketing or, you know, the leadership. You know, there's lots of people and lots of kids that have gone to school here or people in the community that can definitely add to those classes and, you know, give some thoughts. And so, yeah, we try to be purposeful of how can we beef up our business ed classes to offer something more that's really valuable and meaningful to kids. So,
Yeah. And the leadership class, of course, would have benefits no matter what field.
Right,
you end up
yep,
going into.
for
Those
sure.
are basic communication sort of collaboration.
for sure. Anybody else have any other questions on any of the changes or anything? All right, thanks.
Here none, though, we need a motion.
I make a motion to approve these courses, add new courses.
I'll second it.
Motion by Earl, second by Bo to approve.
Peggy McCormick? Yes. Bo Schrader?
Yes.
Janet Mathis?
Yes.
Earl Wallace?
Yes.
Isaac Wallace?
Yes.
Rich James?
Yeah,
Scott Walter?
Yes. Fantastic, we're moving on in 47 minutes to
Don't you?
the informational agenda. Number of discussion items, starting with the weight room expansion, an update there.
Do you want?
You go ahead.
So yeah, just an update to let you know that, they have taken out most of that wall. And it has made a drastic difference in, you know, the size of the room. The wall was so thick. Kenny said it was really great having his class go through this experience and understand that when you contract a bid to put in like maybe some stipulations because they ran into some different issues with the wall. And it took a lot longer. It was a lot of work. He said, you know, we had 15 kids carrying. So he said this job would have cost a lot of money. And had they bid it
A lot.
not seeing that, they would have, yeah, so a lot of really great lessons. And the work is coming along. I think he has just a small portion of that large wall. But he figures he'll be done with that and be done with, the jackhammer by the end of the week, so.
The only change per se from the beginning was the way it is now. If you go up there, we had students many years ago do a bunch of artwork and all the stuff on the wall. And that was intended to stay and I'll be part of it. And unfortunately, when they got into it, where things are at, the last section could not come out without taking out that wall. So I found that out this morning. I went up, I'm like, where's the wall? It's gone. But they have to do it. So it'll be one big room. It is what it is. We can put some new artwork in there, but yeah, it's really been it's been an interesting project for, I think, Krings and the kids, and things you find along the way and people's names and concrete underneath all that. I told Earl today, one of the concrete beams had 31066 written on it and somebody's initials in marker, not like, but you know, it was just, so it's just kind of weird to see the history with that. And I think the kids and, you know, some of them we actually explained to them today when they're jackhammering and going through everything, like, and then we explained, well, this whole thing used to all be bleachers. This was all concrete. And we took all that out in 5-gallon buckets and the kids were like,
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
it was, yeah, that was a job. So this job is
So you
Definitely
do-
less than that one, but still way,
Do cement, things to get chiseled up.
way more, yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, it's definitely been a great project and I think a good one for the kids and yeah, financially, I don't know what it would have cost if we would have had to pay. It would have been a lot.
More than free.
Yeah, way more than free.
Well, kudos to Ken and the students. That was a good learning experience, but yeah, that hands-on learning, that's what it's all about, right? Maybe ask him if his students have any interest in roofing.
They throw the windows in the dumpsters in, is that what they did? with windows?
The actual frame part,
Because they had to take all that.
yeah, they've had all the glass. I don't know where DJ's been,
Storing
it's
it.
been dumping, but
He's had to
a lot of the wood, they've just taken out the frame stuff. I think they've tried to recycle what they could and everything, but
Aluminum frames,
um,
the glass from in the dumpster.
there's been a
I
mix.
think he had to get an additional dumpster
Sure.
specific for some of those materials.
So, well, I mean, thinking about the fact that they saved us a lot of money. If we wanted that, well, did he pay out of his budget for the dumpsters and whatnot? Or should we?
I don't know where, I'm assuming not.
We haven't gotten that bill
just-
yet.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't be out of his, they would just come out of.
No, the general fund.
Maintenance or, yeah.
Regular-
So, okay,
regular fund.
so it didn't cost, he's not,
It shouldn't be out of
No,
gas, because
no.
it's benefiting the school, not
Yeah,
him.
that's-
It is in a way, but.
Other than he might want students to be aware, but that's a cost.
that's great. All right, very good. Moving on into the quarterly budget report. Can I stare at Melissa, but
Yep.
is that the
Yep.
appropriate person?
Yeah, where's the companion fellows? Who's doing what? Yeah, so I did look back and compare this to last year at the end of the third quarter. Everything's fairly comparable, percentage wise. There were a few things that stood out. And one of them is the co-curricular expense summary, which is about midway down on your first page. That is, in the salaries and fringe benefits area, trending a little higher than last year, but we added a head coach for girls wrestling this year. So that is what's pushing that up. And then on the district office expense summary further down the page, purchase services are up a little bit over last year. But involved in all that would be the printing and mailing of the brochures, along with additional notices in the newspaper for the election, for the referendum. So that's why that's trending just a little higher than last year. On the back page, transportation expense summary. That is, the percentage is high over last year because we did increase that budget in order to purchase a bus and the Suburban. But otherwise, that's trending on track. Let's see. Transportation fuel is actually coming in under where it was last year, surprisingly. Custodial's running on track, maintenance. The utilities are actually lower, I assume because of our nice warm winter. And while food service does show a loss in that total line, that is something that was budgeted for. And where it is right now compared to what we budgeted for a loss, that is also on track. So nothing in reviewing it, nothing really stuck out to me as being out of line. But if you guys have any questions, I can certainly try to help answer them.
What is Fund 21?
121 is our, like the special trust, that's where the Griffin money is,
Okay,
or gifts
Oh,
and
yeah,
donations
that's
to
right,
the
yeah.
school along with
just
scholarships.
don't see that number very much.
No.
It's only an insurance expense and it's all zero, so I just.
I guess the way I always read these, when you're looking at year to date, we're as of 3/31, 75% of the way, so I always look at expenses, the percentage, the second column from the right relative to that, and it looks like you pointed out all the areas where we're spending above that, where we're closer to.
Right, and on that very first section, that revenue expense summary at the top of the first page, those percentages look low considering we're 3/4 of the way through the year, but again, a lot of our revenues do come in June.
Yeah, the state doesn't,
Right.
Yeah.
So, that's very normal to see that.
or July, when you're, right?
Oh, yeah, we'll book them in June, we'll get them in July. Especially some of the grant stuff.
Okay.
You know, with what Scott said about, over 75% or so, what about the HSA things? You would think that would be, why would that be ahead?
Because most of that is paid out, we pay 4 months worth of it in
We
September,
pay it at a set time.
Yeah.
So you just-
6 months in
just pay it out.
January, and then for 2 months in June.
Any other questions? Comments? All right, then, that's just for discussion, so we'll move right on to item 3. Apparently, a deer was causing some problems.
Yes. So yes, the insurance adjuster did get back to us and he did total the vehicle at a rate of $9,503.33, less our $500 deductible. So with that, the vehicle itself had 100 and some thousand miles, correct?
164.
164, yeah.
Almost 65.
And we had been, so that is a vehicle that needs to be replaced, because that's our vehicle that Kim takes to lacrosse. And delivers and transports our students. So we did get a bid on, he had this bid for an Equinox at, I believe, 33,704.
That's
That was
the,
the
that's the
escape.
escape.
That's the Escape.
There's, yeah.
Oh, yeah, there we go. And the Equinox is 29,897.
So are we gonna get bids from another?
Jeff said that he absolutely could. This kind of was done previously, but, yeah, didn't expect to be hit by
No, I know.
the deer, so he was kind of in the process, but kind of wanted to give you a ballpark as far as what that looked like. And to know kind of where that, total came in.
So what's he using to transport the students to lacrosse every day then?
He does have, a couple other vehicles that are used for other purposes, but
What we need.
we needed to prioritize transporting those students, so he's
So
using.
is there money in the transportation area right now, or are we gonna be trying to figure out where else to come from?
We do have 26,800 left in our, budget for this year. In that area for vehicle acquisition, 'cause we had budgeted 200,000 and we spent like 173,000 and change between the bus and the Suburban.
Because the bus came in a lot cheaper than
I think the bus
anticipated.
came in cheaper than anticipated, and I think the Suburban might come in like 5,000 under where we had initially thought it was gonna come in when we were doing the budgeting last spring.
Well, it sounds like, well, I still think we need bids from. This is my opinion, but
I would
I think
agree.
we need bids from another.
Yeah, we'll bring that back next time,
Yeah.
but to keep
But
you
it sounds
informed,
like it'll work because you get $9,000 insurance money and then.
Right, roughly a third of the vehicle will be paid for with insurance.
Is there I'm 6'7", so I would argue against what I'm gonna suggest anyway, but is there a reason? These are both essentially 4-passenger vehicles, right? 5 if you jam 3 in the backseat, but is there a reason we're not looking at a sedan for less money and higher gas mileage?
Are these all-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive
They're all-
perhaps?
yep.
And they go to
Maybe
lacrosse
locations.
every day.
That would be my guess is why Jeff's looking that way.
But maybe we never considered the other either. I don't
I
know.
can,
I drove a Honda Civic to lacrosse every day when I was.
Well, the other
Working
thing
there.
is,
Some people.
Not a lot of, you can, sedans anymore that are that price range.
Yeah, you could probably get one
Sedans.
probably for like 24, so probably be about $5,000 less if you want that.
Well, I mean, if there's. It's $5,000 and the gas mileage probably gonna be substantially greater, eh?
maybe like 5.
I mean, if it's 6, one, half a dozen of the other, why not say $5,000, but the SUVs, of course, are roomier and more comfortable. And Jeff's a big guy, so. So I hate that idea
You could at
because,
least approach it with Jeff and see what he thinks.
Yeah, I can have conversations, we can talk it through and then call a couple different places. Basically though, I don't know if we need to, I don't know if we can approve, but to accept the total from the insurance company, right? I think it
Oh,
was either keep or pick it up or,
Yeah,
yeah, I think
so,
it's not, we can't vote tonight, but we
No.
can give our general consent, I think, is it?
he was looking at trading it in, obviously, or
Yeah.
trading it in or keeping it and selling it or what, I don't know what, but
Yeah.
he was looking at something if he went to get a quote based on that mileage.
So information, and then we'll bring back more information next time to kind of fill in all the pieces, but that's where we're at so far with that.
Everybody good? Moving on then, TC Networks agreement. Contract was signed through 2 years from now. Same agreement, cost of living increase, not to exceed 4% each year. I'll just throw this out there. I have heard nothing but glowing reviews. We've worked with a number of the technicians from TC Networks. They knowledgeable, do great stuff. The cybersecurity add-on is huge in today's day and age. But I did mention to Kim during one of our, I hope they don't feel like too frequent meetings, but one of our chats that when we meet with Lafarge, that seems like a position we could at least throw on the table is co-oping, having an in-house person share between two schools. I met,
Yeah, we'll talk about that when the time comes, but we had an in-house person before we went with TC.
understood,
And we would be paying a lot more, and we would not have the backing that that person that's in here has of being able to call their people at TC and get in their database, because there ain't too many problems we're gonna have that they haven't seen. And it does help to have that big network behind you that covers, I don't know how many schools in Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois. You know, I mean, they've got schools of all, I was surprised when I first saw them, 'cause
like I said, I understand the benefits. We've heard nothing but glowing reviews since we went that road, but it just seems to me that when we have that meeting with Lafarge, if we're gonna be looking to save money,
we make money out there.
that may not be
They
the
make their
place to
problem-
save it.
There was
I was
TC
just gonna
Networks, because we
They
are
are.
sharing a guy, because he goes over there,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's the
I
same
know.
guy back and forth for TC Networks.
And I think, and Melissa, you correct me if I'm wrong, but our savings doing it through TC Networks is pretty substantial from what it was when we had our own person.
Oh, yeah.
No, big
In-house.
time.
To get somebody in today's market, cause we've had TC for many years now.
Right.
So we're actually saving money as opposed to an in-house person that
We're
we had.
probably, with benefits and everything on top of salary, we're probably paying less, I know it has been a number of years, we're probably paying maybe less now than we did then, that
You're
last
correct.
year or two that we had an in-house person.
Yeah,
Well, our agreement's what, 55, I don't have it, what here, it is,
25, 26. Oh, yeah, it's 55.
55,000.
96.
And if we're sharing them with Lafarge, we're paying for essentially half their time.
but we couldn't
What?
share a person. We
Right.
each need to have a person. Trying to have just one person between Lafarge and us would
That wouldn't work.
be, I don't know how
Well, I
that.
didn't mean to open up that.
No, it just, I mean,
Good
Sometimes
question.
we have
it's a
two
good question.
techs on
It's a-
site. Yeah, sometimes there's 2 techs here on site.
It's a
working,
great
Yeah,
thought.
Depending
It
on what's
just-
going on.
And
Sometimes
correct me if
there's
I'm wrong,
three.
but like, they did some major
I'll get 'em.
changeover of servers or something, and they actually had,
They do
not just
all-
our tech, but
yes.
they had.
Yeah,
Mhm.
In fact, I think Roger Tyson himself might have been here.
Yeah,
If
right.
I remember right.
yeah.
Okay. All right, well,
We might teach-
be that as it may. Any discussion on the? Many of you remember seeing the same thing last year. 4% increase seems reasonable. Then the last thing, schedule meetings, I guess starting with our May, what's the date of our May?
May 8th.
May 8th is our next regular meeting. Any committee meetings that need to be scheduled?
We probably need to have another negotiations unless we wait to plan that after tonight. But we'll have to have a negotiations, and then did our policy want to meet before?
Yeah, I'll defer to you, Rich, but I think we had talked about putting together essentially a white paper, but a resolution with regards to some of the things going on in the legislature right now.
Yep, and I sent you and Kim and Peggy an email this afternoon, so I've collected like examples and information, and I've just been so busy, so what I emailed you guys is I'll spend time this weekend putting together a draft I can send to, you know, yourself and Peggy and Kim early next week, that we can have a discussion, either and schedule a meeting to talk about it with the goal of, you know, either in May or absolutely worst case in June, depending on what we discuss in the committee, bringing something to the entire board.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's gonna be a meaningful thing that we can engage in as a local school board. We've been, like every school district we've been reacting to a lack of emphasis on public education by the legislature. And I think it'll be nice to turn the tables and actually take a proactive approach and move to educate the public about why all these schools are going to referendum. So look forward to that. The other thing I just throw out, nothing to be scheduled now, but you'll remember at our retreat this past summer, we formed at some point formed an ad hoc committee that was going to continue Kim's early work on the mission statement, core values. Everybody recall that from the retreat? And then we had discussed briefly moving that into a strategic planning process. And Kim had some notes about contacts she's made along those lines in her email from today or yesterday. So as we move forward, that ad hoc committee may assume some responsibilities regarding some portion of the strategic planning process, should we engage in that. So I think that was myself, Bo, and Peggy, right, on that ad hoc committee. So be prepared for the workload if we go down that path. All right. Here, nothing else regarding upcoming meetings, we'll move to the superintendent's report.
Okay, I'll start with a few shout outs for our students. We have a large amount of successful students in our arts. Specifically, right now, we're looking at solo ensemble being a drastic increase from what has gone to the state level in previous years. In both band and in choir. With that comes a small increase in funding for them to go to the state competition. Also, in our visual arts, we had several students taking first place at the state level. And then additionally, Adric Eggy was listed as the top 44 boys in Wisconsin to watch this track season per the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. So I just wanted to first shout out to a bunch of our kiddos who are really doing a phenomenal job in their specific areas. The Perch team is a little over halfway meeting their goal, funding their international competition. So I think it's super impressive to just see so many kids competing at such top levels. We've this last week have celebrated our school librarian and our paraprofessionals, complimenting them on the phenomenal job that they do every single day. Jeremy received a grant, what did I do with that paper now? From the retired
WREA.
WREA, the Retired Teacher Association. So he receives $2,000 from that organization. And he also has a letter here that I'm going to write, or that I'm going to read. On behalf of Kickapoo Area Schools, I'm reaching out to humbly request your support and generous contributions towards new weight room equipment. So he is seeking donations for some new equipment in the weight room. So that letter will be coming. I also received a letter from Anna, who she had taken a year leave, has decided that she is not going to return, but she wanted to share a letter. I want to thank you for granting my request for a 1-year leave of absence. I've enjoyed and cherished this year with my little boys and family more than words can express. I am so grateful. I am also thankful I was able to continue my work as the pool supervisor and substitute teach a few times because I love staying connected to this positive, impactfully, and friendly school community. It makes me feel good that I can still make a positive impact in some small ways. I also want to formally inform you of my intentions for my future at Kickapoo. My husband and I are currently trying to sell our house and buy a new one in the district. We plan to rent somewhere as soon as our house sells, but are unsure where. My oldest son, Jaden, will be attending Kickapoo 4K in the fall. Since there will be many unknowns for my family in the next year, and my husband's role at work has become more demanding, we've decided it would be best for our family if I didn't get a full-time job for the 24-25 school year. My intentions are to continue to be the pool supervisor and substitute teach when my in-laws can watch my youngest son. When Tracy Salverson decides to retire from her title reading position, I plan to fulfill the contract I signed and fill her position. The contract was an agreement stating that Kickapoo paid for half of my Viterbo tuition for my Reading 316 license. Then I would fill the title reading position someday. I am still very excited about becoming a title reading teacher and love teaching students who struggle with reading. Sincerely, Anna Marty. And I have been in contact with Megan Gustafson from Lafarge, and we're looking at a joint board meeting and trying to come find some time to spend together, but looking at possibly June as a time we can get together. So I'll update you as soon as she and I can spend more time together. I also received a phone call from Gunderson at Hillsborough, and they are no longer going to contract with us for an OT-PT position. So we are going to start seeking an OT and PT. We are continuing to seek for food service. We have not had any applicants. And we are continuing conversations with CISA about filling our speech and language position for next year. I'm hoping for a full-time person instead of sharing 2 halves. And that's all that I have this evening, unless you have any questions.
Thanks, Kim.
We had books for breakfast on last Friday, which we do on the first Friday of every month. It's always nice to have people from the community in. State testing is underway in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, going pretty smoothly. Sam Goodwin is organizing an Earth Day celebration for the 26th. She wants to do things outside. She has contacted people. Have like different stations, so the kids can rotate through, so we try to do that from like 12:30 to 2:30. That would be for the elementary. Summer school registration, the booklet is out, there's probably, well, what did I check? 60 kids signed up right now. As I learned last year, no matter how many times I ask you to please sign up, they don't sign up until they realize, hey, I gotta send my kid to summer school tomorrow. And then all of a sudden we get 40 more people to sign up. But I will send out some reminders on class tag to try to get more people to sign up. 4K, Sam had 4K screening with a couple of preschoolers that are probably going to stay in preschool right now. Now the number is 33. And with 33, we always get a few, well, I know there's one more for sure that didn't come, so that would be 34. The number is getting bigger and bigger, so, and it's,
And yeah, what is the
Yeah.
number on that up
I
total?
think there were 8 that applied for open enrollment, but someone already in the 3K program.
some of them, yeah.
But how many up total from what we were? Or new ones that applied?
So far, there's like 25. 8 or 9 that I applied to go out. That doesn't close until the 30th, so
But we're up.
we're up, yeah, we're on the plus side.
So yeah, it's a good problem to have, is to have that many preschoolers, so I'll have to take a look at how we're gonna work that out. And then that EMLSS thing, which is a fancy way of saying, that's the group that I took down to CISA to look at kind of our systems of how we deal with behavior, different behavior problems, what systems, how do we collect data, what steps are we taking to try to change that? We've met with them. Taylor went, and Erica and Angie and Katie, we all went down to CISA in September. We've had a Zoom meeting, they've come here once, and then they're coming actually tomorrow morning, and we're gonna, it's 2 former principals that are gonna help us take kind of the data we collect now and the things that we're trying and try to help us hone that into more of a systems, like easiest way to call it, that we have a system set up and it's making sure we're collecting the right stuff and trying to make a difference with kids, so. And that'll carry over into, in a perfect world, it's everything, it's academics and behaviors and it's everything right together, but lately we've been focusing more on the behaviors to get that straightened out first, but, so they'll be here tomorrow, and then for an hour or so in the morning. Any questions?
So I know you guys kind of had a little discussion about it, 33, maybe 34 preschoolers. What accounts for that 50% increase or nearly 50%? Is that open enrollment? Is it, you know, where those kids
There
are?
are 8 of them,
Some.
I think 8 of them were open enrolled.
And I'm thinking only 3 attended the 3K now. I'm not positive, but it was something like that. There were
So
like 5
maybe getting the
groups.
benefit from the 3K
A little bit,
program.
just,
Open
and
enrollment.
maybe it's just a spike of. They had kids that night, this is kind of, yeah, I don't, you know what I mean, there's.
Yeah.
That I can't answer, but. No, it's a good problem to have,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
not a problem, it's a good thing to have. We have more coming,
That's
And
good
the
news.
3K again, we're running that next,
yes,
and it's just gonna be the one day still, or,
yes, that's my understanding,
and they have to do 3 before? Yes,
whatever, yeah, whatever it means.
like, they can't turn 3 in the middle of the year and come the second semester.
No.
September is our.
33.
Unless a certain board member would like to pass a certain rule that. It's up to the board, I'm not gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I asked questions.
In addition to the emergency lockdown, it's tornado drill week, so we will have a tornado drill tomorrow. As Andy indicated, testing is in progress for the forward test for 6th, 7th, 8th, and 10th. And then we also have the pre-ACT test for freshmen and sophomores happening. Heading into the final stretch, some things ahead. Scholarship night is May 1st, so I don't know if anybody remembers, but we actually split that this year. So instead of having NHS and scholarship in the same night, they're separate. So that will be on May 1st. Always a great night, great opportunity for kids, lots of money given away, lots of good opportunities there. On May 3rd, lots of things going on, but one thing we've done the last few years is a roadside cleanup for the middle school kids. So a good opportunity to get out and help the community. And kind of last thing I email people, but just with graduations coming up, I'll need a helper if possible from the board for things. So if anybody, I don't think I got any yeses, so Scott, you're on for sure, right, for the one? All right, anybody else want to help? High school graduation, we could do one if needed, if anybody else wants to help.
And it's Friday night.
Yep, Friday night, 7 o'clock. Anybody else?
Of Memorial Day, right?
Yep,
On May 24th.
all right, Scott, we'll do it. Anybody for 8th grade graduation? That's that Tuesday, I think it's June 4th.
Yeah, just Wednesday.
Anybody interested to help with that?
If nobody else will do it.
Okay. All right, I got you down, Janet.
Oh,
So thank you. Nope, nope.
Tuesday.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you, everybody. That's what I have. Any questions at all? All right, thanks.
Okay, thanks, Andy and Aaron. That brings us to our closed session. We'll be convening pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85, paragraph 1, part C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. Our purpose tonight, volunteer middle school track coach and teacher contracts.
Make a motion to do this closed session. I'll say.
Motion by Earl, second by Bo, roll call vote, please, Marla.
Bo Schrader.
Yes.
Peggy
Have a good
McCormick.
night.
Yes.
Rich James.
Yes.
Isaac Wallace.
Yes.
Earl Wallace.
Yes.
Janet Mathis.
Yes.
Scott Walter.
Yes. Okay,
I'll make a motion that we approve Christy Deaver as middle school volunteer track coach.
I'll second that.
motion by Earl, second by Janet to approve Christy Deaver as middle school track coach.
Earl Wallace.
Yes.
Isaac Wallace.
Yes.
Rich James.
Yes.
Peggy McCormick.
Yes.
Bo Schrader.
Yes.
Janet Mathis.
Yes.
Scott Walter.
Yes. Leaving one motion remaining.
The teachers. contract.
Nope.
Oh, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
There you go. That's the one.
Good effort.
I'll second that.
Motion by Earl, second by Peggy, and you can vote with your feet.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
We used to always have one person who would make that motion, you know? Remember that?
Yeah, I know.
It was for years.
The last 4 years.
Everybody have a good night.
Thanks,
You
Rick.
too.
Good night, Isaac.
Thanks,
I
all.
second the
Good night.
adjournment. I had President
Good night.
West one for like the last 6 years, like, second.